Hearty welcome to each one of you for Wednesday study circle meeting. First of all, apologies for delay in starting the program. So friends, today we have an interesting topic for discussion. Automation solutions for paperless office. To share knowledge in this topic, we have an expert and eminent speaker, CA Anand Prakash Jaggi. May I request CA Natarajan sir to escort the speaker onto the dais and also welcome him with a floral bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the speaker. Thank you, CA Natarajan sir. Friends, it is my pleasure to introduce the speaker to this August gathering. CA Anand Prakash Jaggi, a certified information systems auditor, a chartered accountant, a certified information systems manager, and an Akurawa certified professional. His area of specialization includes governance, risk and compliance, enterprise risk management, project management, designing and implementation of regulatory compliance framework, IT governance and management audits. He is a subject matter expert in the field of business and IT controls and forensic audit and analytics. Anand is a managing partner at Anand Jaggi and Associates, a CA firm with focus in the area of forensic audit, IS audit and fraud analytics for audit and finance. Anand was part of the risk management team at Goldman Sachs, covering multiple audits across much geography for different functions in the organization. His areas of specialization were forex audit, DP audits, anti-money laundering, Basel II, BCP and operational risk. Prior to Goldman Sachs, he was with ES Consulting Group at Infosys Technologies Limited, Bangalore. He has been involved in enterprise risk management implementation and IT audit for many international projects at USA, UK, Japan, China, etc. His other professional interests includes he is visiting faculty for IIM Bangalore teaching IS audit and fraud analytics, have been involved in many educational and research engagement for Infosys Consulting Group. He is an active member of Young India CII. With this brief introduction, I present CA Anand Jaggi before you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome once again Anand Jaggi.
Good evening, everyone. And first, my sincere apologies for being a little late. Bangalore traffic, it's always an excuse, right, we can give. So, when I was discussing this topic, what I should be speaking on, usually if you see some of my old discussion, I'll be talking about analytics and other things. But for today's discussion, I thought, let's go back to the fundamentals. Okay? Let's try to talk about something which we all have been listening from long time ago, right? That is called office automation. That's nothing new. It's something which has already been there. So why should someone from their busy schedule come out for 2 hours on a Wednesday evening and attend a session like this where I'm talking about new age automation approach? If you go on Google and search on office automation, you'll find like millions of web pages talking about automations and everything. Now, the way I structure this presentation, and this is like just to give you a kind of a background, what we are thinking of, is twofold. When we start to do something, don't you think the first thing you should implement is in-house? You know, any experiment or anything we do, it's always better to do it in-house. And then there we talk about what can be done outwardly. Imagine if you don't have an issue with resources, how would you design the next generation CA firm? Which is not just next generation in terms of activities, productivity and other things, but it is also next generation in terms of what kind of opportunity can bring it for all of us. Okay? So with that context, I will not go into the agenda first. I would like to keep it little interactive today. What do you think when we discuss about an automation? I will not go into the paperless office, that's an approach, a final activity or anything as such. But what comes to your mind when we talk about automation? Anyone, feel free.
Repetitive jobs to be
Amazing. Repetitive jobs get going. Great.
less manual intervention.
Less manual intervention. Why humans are not good? Yeah, humans are not good at repetitive tasks. Like, let me ask you one thing. If I ask you to do the same task again and again, don't you think as a human you are more intelligent for doing that? Right? And don't you think the cost is also a big factor if I have to do it manually? Always it's, if you take in the long run, the cost will be higher. Anything else? Any other points? That's a very good point. Repetitive task, manual things, very good. What else? Any other points? Robotics, okay, that's good. Robots are good or bad? So how many of you are here in employment or practice? Let's see, this is can help you. How many in practice? All in practice. How many in employment? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. And I'm sure you have thought of this something like on the robotic process automation stuff, right? Yeah. So in fact, you are at the right place right now, because the way we have thought of this presentation is twofold. First part of my presentation, I talk about what we do internally, in-house. And the second part, I talk about what is happening around us right now in terms of robotic process automation. So this is the two part of our discussion today. I have been given around now 1.5 hours, which I'll try to do justice to. Idea is to actually not tell you what to do, to show you basically what is happening and you try for yourself how we can actually get benefited from that. Okay friends? So to start with, this is going to the agenda for today. The two perspectives, I was telling you, the internal perspective and our external perspective would be discussing. Internal perspective is something what you can do from an automation perspective in your CA firm for a time being. That's like very, very micro level. And second, what are the things you can do it for your clients, who can be on shared services, who can be any corporates or anything, making their life easier. And what are the learnings so far? Because if we are discussing this right now, let me tell you one thing. This topic is like right now pretty much mature. It is not something new. But what is new in this, I'll be discussing in my last few slides. Robotic process automation's maturity level has changed. The way it used to be used earlier and the way it is being used now is different. We'll discuss a couple of use cases which you can actually appreciate yourself. So internal office automation, external benefits of RPAs on both sides, use cases, and finally the talk would be on what is the impact on our favorite area, accounting and auditing. More than accounting, I would love to think auditing. Do you think we should trust everything which comes out of the system or the robots? Can we trust it for that? I'm not sure if you have actually gone on YouTube and seen an advertisement by another accounting profession called CIMA. Heard about them? CIMA? And they are actually telling that in future, robots are going to take over all the jobs in accounting except for the job of that particular certification. So you have to think of, this is coming. Whatever we are talking about, organizations are already doing it. This is a very nice video. I couldn't show it because I thought it doesn't make sense for us. So you can go to YouTube and search for CIMA plus robots. There's a full video which is there where they are advertising and telling you that, okay, this is going to happen. This is something not far away. It's going to happen now. This is automation densified. If you see accounting department, this is all about where when we think of robots, you know, like, in fact, I wanted to talk about that robotic process automation something later, but because you brought it out, how do you think robots? Have you like, from your childhood, you've seen the movies where robots are bad robots who come and kill people and all things, right? Terminator series and all that kind of stuff. We have a kind of thought process of robots. And this is like, you're getting your coffee out there. I know also many people who use, do you remember the CD drive which is there? Do you know there are a lot of people who use CD drive as a cup, holder, like, I have seen people like that. So there are a lot of people who think, excuse me, I have a video also, some audio I require. Okay. So this is what's happening today around us. And this is the internal automation we are talking about. I see a lot of people who are like very senior in this field and that you have been all there. Now I have a question. Tell me one thing. When we talk about automation, do you think as a chartered accountant we have overcome a lot of challenges to come where we are right now? From the days of MCA 21. Right? I still remember that day. I used to be a student that time. I think I became a CA that time. Yeah, I was a fresh CA and that time I used to talk about digital signature, MCA 21, and only thought digital signature is you sign and you scan it, this is digital signature. That is the way we used to think of, and today we have been using it. So we have overcome all that kind of stuff from an automation perspective. But is there a way? So when I have been in industry for all my time, and when I came into practice, I was actually thinking, what is that thing which I can do? So I did a lot of permutation and combination. That is what I wanted to share with you today. I did a lot of permutation and combination internally. That how can I make the firm more, I would say, agile in a way, and second, more responsive to what is happening, and not waste my time in the traditional stuff, right? Because the idea is, of late, I'll just give you an example. My previous organization, as you know, was Infosys. And in Infosys, we use something called a CRM for all our requirement of managing my clients' request or whatever relationship which we have. Now, tell me one thing. How many of us here right now have rolled out a CRM in our office, where you know everything about the customer, your clients? Now, Infosys or large organization use SAP CRM, which is like cost you around lakhs of rupees. Now I was actually little curious that I actually fix up my budget. So whatever I'm discussing, let me tell you one thing. I'm like just like a typical chartered accountant, very concerned about one part. Now what is that? Cost. I'm just like, we are all the same. So I am very concerned about cost. So I set up a budget which was like this. I am going to spend not more than X amount yearly for my automation requirement. And I want the best out of that. So it is kind of a case study I am discussing with you. What do you think this X amount can be for automation? Can you think of any amount, X amount? Yearly I am talking about. Oh my god, too much. You are a rich CA. Okay, think little lower.
50,000.
Huh? 50,000. No, that is too less actually. Actually, I put it myself on 10,000 rupees per month. That is like I can hire an article kind of thing, doing something, or something like that. So I set up my target was 1.2 lakh per annum. Okay, and I have actually thought of when I was making the PPT that I'm not trying to name any products or anything, but I'll give you some examples there. I'm not going to tell you you could do this or anything as such, because that's not the forum which we is there. But I'll talk you with about multiple things which can be used. And I think 10,000 per month is not a big amount. Do you agree with me, friends? That's something which for automation we can use. Now, this was the problem I was trying to solve here. First, moving paper generation. Paper generation is actually huge. I come from a background where I was a program manager for TDS CPC from Infosys. And I hope you have gone to ITR CPC sometime, friends. If you visit that place, have you seen so much your document used to come, they're scanning and all things. And that's something which happened over a period of time. Every CEO office, we are full with a lot of documentation. Time-consuming search for records, because that's something you have to call. You should have an office boy to take care of that and all that kind of cost. Extra level deployment, that's what I was telling you, and insecure data. How many of you are aware of Section 43A of the Information Technology Act 2000, revised 2008? Anyone? No? Highly recommend all of you to go back and check this out. I'm actually specifying only one section out there, 43A. And there they talk about body corporate, and they say a proprietorship firm is also a body corporate under Act. And I hope you know there's a data privacy law, not law, it's a bill which has been already, draft has already come in the market. Data privacy, don't you think as chartered accountant, you guys are the most important building block of financial data of this country? Every one of us, because I don't do practice in income tax, but all of CA firms, my friends, when I go and meet them, do you think we are full of all this income tax data, PAN number, this, that, all this kind of PII, we use the word private, personally identified information. It's very sensitive. And all this information, if you don't have proper checks and balances, there is called reasonable practices, reasonable security practices. If it is kept in a manual form and all thing, and someone just take 5 pictures of that, if mobile phone now everyone has how many megapixel cameras and all thing, what's going to happen? He has to do only one thing. If you have a disgruntled employees, we have a lot of challenges of disgruntled employees. In CA firms, don't you think the chances of disgruntled employees are more higher? Yes. Okay, I'm not going to go ahead with that. That kind of thing, he has to do only one thing. 10 of your clients, name, phone number, address and date of birth, plus PAN number also, upload it in CA Club India and go to them and say that your data has been leaked, and they have to file an FIR. You may have to pay up to, there is a kind of you can do settlement, so you have something you have to pay as penalty for doing it, plus there is free boarding and lodging also. Now why do you want, and I hope you have not studied your IT yet properly, but all your article clerks are already studying that in ISCA and other thing. And if they get an idea that they can do this, don't you think it can be a scary? So security is always very important. And when I say, I don't say always that non-paper based are more secure, but there at least you can put some kind of checks and balances which are there. In paper based it is very tough. And monitors update process, which is always there. These are the points which I thought I'll spend for some time and discuss with you each of the three. This is what comes for you for 1.2 lakhs per annum, which you can actually use it in your organization right now. What are the first thing? CRM. Don't you think customer relationship management is the first thing? Of late, as chartered accountant, we have been told always, and that's always there, we have to become client focused. What the client is doing, what kind of business we are doing, what is the people who are dealing with. Can the same client give us more business into this area? All these kind of things can be tracked by your customer relationship management. And the good news is, very good news is, there are so many good, effective CRM solutions which are there, from free to cloud-based. I know all of us like free, so I also was first thing. So I'll give you a name of one or two of free. Like there is something called as Sugar HR, or Sugar CRM. The name is Sugar. I don't know why they name it. It's Sugar CRM is there. Now that is totally free, but to configure it, it will take a lot of time. So instead of doing that, why don't you go to something like Zoho or any of this cloud-based? There are hundreds of other who are there. You just have to search cloud-based CRM, they'll give you, and there are a lot of review sites which will take care of do it. And you can even ask which is a good one for a CA office. They are also reviewed like that. So I would say that this is the first must-have. It is like tracking how many clients I have, how many leads I have. You heard this term called leads? It can be converted into client. I'm talking to them, they can actually work it out. This works very well. It's an amazing tool which I think every CA should be using, and it's like very like for one user you can actually pay some 200 rupees per month. That's like I'm talking about, very less, right? That's the kind of thing you are getting it up the CRMs which are there. And I would suggest we should use it. We have to. See, the people who are going to survive in the next 10 years are the people who adapt to the new technology and new things. And time has come. 10 years back I could have not said you that you can have a CRM. But today, because of the cloud-based computing, what I used to use in my previous organization, I can use it the same kind of approach presently. Don't you think that's amazing actually? Second thing which I thought is, yeah, sir.
This is CRM. Is it only like maintaining a database of all?
No, sir. It is actually like, okay, it is completely multiple things. It is start with contact management. How many people I need, all my cards will get scanned into that, and I have all these people's data with them. How many times I drop them a mail, I can track it down there. What was the follow-up I did? This will be keep track from that CRM. So I know I sent him a mail requesting for a meeting. He responded back, he didn't respond back. If he didn't respond back, maybe I was not good enough in convincing him in the first time. It is basically a kind of a complete, I would say, the life cycle, just like we have an ERP, an enterprise resource planning, it is a complete life cycle of how you acquire customer clients, manage the clients, and you basically keep on having a relationship managed. Because customer relationship management, friends, is like a long-term view. You are investing into building up the. I hope none of us are here for 1 day or 2 days, right? You have a long-term view of how you are an entrepreneur now and you want to build up that. This will help you with that. It also helps you with lead management. Like for example, I have given 5 proposals. I want to know how many of my proposals I win, how many I lost. Let's say for example, my prices were high. So it can help you analyze all the things. This is end-to-end of your managing the life cycle of your clients.
So it is integrated with your game.
Yes, it integrates with mails also. Like it integrates, like the one which you are using it integrates with our Gmail clients. Like we are using, from Gmail you have enterprise mails which are there. It integrates with that very easily. So this is actually one very interesting thing which I would highly recommend you to do, because it cuts down on the time. I want to know this client what's happening. I have to just give it, and I can create a kind of a dashboard for that. Initially, it will take, let me give you the word of caution also, it will take you minimum 1 to 3 months to stabilize it, because every system takes time. When the data goes into that, only then it works well, sir. So it will do. It can do everything, end-to-end process. That's why I'll say you, there are free options also. I give you example, totally free. You don't have to do any money. It is like you have to just host it in one server, that's all, which is there. Or you can go for cloud-based. Services are better in cloud-based. That one, if you have a good person in your house, in-house in your team, he can handle it, that can work. Okay? So, see, I told you all these things which I am trying to move it up here. Budget is how much? Remember the budget part, okay? 1.2 per annum, okay? Let's go to the second one, HRM. Okay, I realized one very dangerous thing which I was not aware of, that you have to keep a track of everything, what's happening in your articles, right? And if you don't do it, do you know what is the penal provision? You may have to write CA examination once again. Anyone ready for that? I don't want to write CA examination again. Anyone wants to do that can try it. Like, see, time has come. We have to be careful with, we can't take things on face value. We have to understand the legal requirement. We are supposed to keep a complete record of your training and who are coming. But that is one part of it. Don't you think you really want to know which of your client is actually adding, which of your employees actually value add in your organization, and which of your employees actually doing nothing? He may be working very late, but actual add-on is nothing. Now, in large organizations, we have friends out here in employment, they will be telling, they have something already in HRM and all things. There is like Oracle HRM, SAP HRM, all high-end softwares are there. But do you know, HRM can be used by us also, and human resource management can do, let me tell you what all things. It can integrate from your attendance system, and it is called hire to retire. Everything which is there in from hiring to retiring. Like even when people apply for our organization right now, they come through the HRM, which means their profiles, everything is there. When he applied, what was the interview scores, everything we have automated. And it actually is working very good because we don't have to worry about that. And do you know what is the best thing which is I like about HRM? I can do capacity plan. Let's say for example next quarter I see that I will have 3 more projects coming. I want to hire some more people. I can actually see in my database which are the people I have not interviewed, and I can actually try to do that. I don't have to worry about that. So I can actually keep on doing it much faster than thinking of that. And friends, I'm again telling you, all these things are automation tools. You can automate the process. Don't you think you have to do hiring, you have to do all these things, recruitment? How do I basically know in my organization how many people have worked in insurance business? I don't know that. Yes, ma'am. Sorry? Okay. Now I'm just telling you how many have work from an insurance business in my organization. So I can go to the HRM and I know they have a skill set. Like for everyone, whichever project he has worked on, I can say he has worked on already 7 projects. So he has worked for 1 insurance client. He understands that for sure. I can actually check all these things. This is my second important thing called my favorite area, HRM. It actually helps me in managing my human resource part there. Then come third one, CAD tools. Yes, sir.
Any good HRM software that you recommend?
Okay, so sir, again, I am actually little biased to Indian companies right now. So Zoho is pretty good. Okay, but if you want to have another one, I would highly recommend you to HRM. Sugar HRM is also there. That is also good. We have actually tried that. It is pretty good, but you have to configure it. It takes little time. So you have to configure it. Configuration takes time. Otherwise, if you actually are using Google Apps, there are a lot of add-ins which are free in HRM. You can just see that. And I would always recommend you, even if you have to pay a little more money, go for one which has attendance integration. That is the best. Anything which is not having attendance integration, it will be create problem for you. Maybe some 100 to 200 rupees per user, it will create an issue. So I would suggest you should go for that kind of thing. So that is always good. Okay, sugar and so choose that. Third one, CAD tools. All of us been actually talking about CAD tools, right? Now, I want to ask you one thing. How many of us use any CAD tools here? No one? Okay, no one carries CAD tools. So, what if I tell you that, okay, let's ask sir. So, you do mostly companies audit or tax audits? Sir? Companies audit. If I say that you can actually cut down on your time taken, or you can increase your scope by at least 30% by using CAD tool, does it make sense the investment which you're going to do into that? Now, do you know, I remember, the moment we have a CAD tool comes to it, we think about ACL, idea and all the things. Then they're very expensive. A yearly license cost you something around $1 lakh rupees. But how many of you heard about, there are a lot of add-in for Excel and other things which are there, which can do the same thing for something around 7,000 to 8,000 rupees per annum, per license. That's all. There are many. Plus, I would highly recommend you, if you are little technical and you like to play around, you can use something called as KNIME, K-N-I-M-E. It is totally free. It's a Switzerland-based company, and the whole CAD tool, which you can use it for multiple purposes. CAD is one of the things I'm just telling you. You can do it. This is totally free. KNIME. It's like knife. It says knife. They call it knife. The point which I'm trying to bring out here is, again, not about the cost factors. My idea is not on the focusing on the cost. My idea is to basically tell you that there are tools available. Just open up. I have seen many of this add-in for Excel, and you won't believe. Though I'm not using it, I'm just sharing with you. There is an add-in from Bangalore only. Mr. Rafiq has a company which is there. That is amazing. It connects to Tally and pull up everything out front of you. You have every data which you can think of, and that doesn't cost you a bomb also. So that kind of tools are actually good. Or if you want to do high-end stuff, you can go for KNIME kind of thing, which actually works pretty good. And they are actually real-life CAD tools and don't cost you a bomb. Only thing is that, for example, KNIME, if I request you that can you attend a 10 hours training, online training, is it fine with you? That is the only investment you have to do it. 10 hours of online training, nothing, and that also is all out there. So use it. So the kind of tools we can use it in office automation. Then comes, friends, most important, billing systems. Okay, now I would say T&M, time and material billing, is maybe a fate. People all want like fixed price contract. But then also, don't you think you really want to know in this project, did I actually make money or I lost money? Internal costing system, don't you think we should be tracking it up there, out there? And that is here. I used to hate one thing in most of my previous companies, that every week we used to fill up our timesheets. Which project you work, and if you don't do it for 3 weeks, your salary will not come. So it's like, where are we? It is a big problem, right? Everyone hates it. But now when I am an entrepreneur, I make it my people do it. They hate me for this. But don't you think it's actually the discipline which is required for all of us to basically know where my time is being spent? Because we are all professionals. The only thing which we have, which we can offer, is not some goods or anything, it is the time. And don't you think the billing will cost everything? And that's why my point which is there is time handling system. Excuse me, like if it is like very much going basic, but I told you this first part of the session will be very basic. I will go back to the fundamentals, and that's why I told you the objective is on paperless. Second part will go like high-end and all the things, you know. But this is all basics, fundamentals. Fifth, attendance, expense and billing. Okay, this I have merged it together because one of the biggest problem which we were facing, I don't know if you guys face it or not, there are good clients and there are bad clients. But the most problematic thing is you have all your employees filing up expense sheets and you do it manually. Don't you think the amount of time wastage is very high? Like for example, he will first make an Excel sheet, in that he will fill up all the thing, attach it and come to you. There are apps, so many apps which cost you like per employee something around $2, 80 rupees per month. What it does for you is simple. Every employee will have an account and you can actually decide, give everyone a user ID which is there, and that guy will, whenever he does an expenses, he will have to fill up 3 things. Which project is that, which date, and take a photograph of that. And it will be e-submitted to you and make life easier for everyone. Don't you think that's the simplest thing? Why should we see automation? When we are saying you don't want to do the manual task, and it's a very boring thing also. Similar speaking, it's a very boring thing to do. So that attendance, expense and billing, all the things can be merged together in terms of doing it. It can be also used for reimbursement. If you have to get a reimbursement, don't you think it makes like this budget, this project is reimbursement, I can actually back and take it forward. Yes, ma'am.
You said you could photograph and send it to you, like.
Yeah.
How does it come into the office account?
Okay, I'll tell you. Good point, ma'am. So basically, what happens is the workflow is already defined in that. Let's say, I am the manager, and under me I have 5 people. All the 5 people, what they will do is I create an account for them, and the workflow will be established. That it will come to me for approval. Only when I go to approval, it will go to the accounts. Accounts will make the payment and take a dump. It is like a soft copy, means all screenshot. Imagine if they don't have to scan also. They don't have to do anything. It is all there. They have to put the printout, attach it, and say this is the payment made for that. If it is a reimbursement due from the client, we attach it with the final bill and submit it to the client. So both way it makes life easier for us. Makes sense, then? So it comes from, let's say employee to manager to accounts department and get filed. Only thing which is there is, if you are thinking automatic posting in the accounting system, that is not happening. That part has to be done. But yes, your voucher, you don't have to make any more scanning or anything else. Everything will be there in the same place. Okay. Then comes audit management system. Okay, what is this audit management system? Anyone has used any of this audit management system? Now you may be doing 30, 40 assignments, and all this audit may be of different types of different requirement. Now, how many people has to be allocated to that? How many people, how much time we took? What are the per month file? All the things. We have already systems which are there which can be doing this for you. You don't have to even make it in-house. It is automatically available, and I'm telling you, you will be surprised at what price they are selling it at. Like one of the one which we evaluated first, though we didn't buy it, he was giving 800 rupees per office per month. Can you imagine that? It was like very cheap. More than that, you can actually have little advanced one, which is like it can do every project management. So all your projects, you can actually create projects in the system, and everything can be linked to that. Expense can be also linked to that. Time also can be linked to it. It will be like an ERP for your office, and there are hundreds of tools which are there. You should check it depending on which area you are practicing in. Because for taxation it will be a little different. We do more of consulting. Ours is little different. You can choose one of them. But when I assess all of them, there are right now I can tell you there are more than 40 Indian companies which are selling there. More than 40. That is huge, amount of things which is there. Even Institute has actually come back sometime back on a free case for all members. I think the CD, did you get the CD? For office management, Institute has sent it to, there was a tie-up which is there. You can use that also, or you can use by any of the other things. There are many of the options which are available. Okay, last three are which I want to move it very quickly. This is most important. You require a DMS. Now what do you mean by a DMS? DMS stands for Document Management System, which means every mail which is coming to you, how do you track it? Like if you have an ID called info at your company or anything, which is maintained by everyone or anything, how do you track it down? So you can actually use two things here. First thing, you can use tools like, how many of you heard about SharePoint? SharePoint, anyone? One person, okay. It's actually from Microsoft, SharePoint. Earlier we used to use it extensively, it is very useful. Earlier it was all in-house, you have to actually install in-house. Now SharePoint is on the cloud and it is amazingly good. Or you can use, my favorite right now is Box for Business. Not the regular box.net, there is something called as Box for Business. If you use Box, you have to pay some money for that. You can share the whole, let's say terabytes of data among the team. You can even fix root, like this file only this client can, this person can access and all that kind of thing. Box for Business is very good. Dropbox is also there. There are multiple service providers which can do it. You have to think of what kind of things you want to use it, and this integration can help. I am not talking about Google Drive and other things because everyone uses it and everyone uses it in different way. But these are all enterprise-wide. Enterprise means your organization, how do you share it between yourself? It will be not linked to your Gmail IDs and all things. It will be linked like from your enterprise IDs. It is very good. I would highly recommend you to use any of this. SharePoint, Dropbox, Box for Business, either of the services you can use it. You can make completely that every document which comes to our office just gets scanned. Unique number is given to that and it is indexed. Which means whenever you want to search, you can just search for that index. Let's say I can create an indexing template like client name / date / year or whatever you can do it. We have made a very simple thing which I can share with you. We tag, this is called tags. Like when I was scanning it up, there's a scanner. How many of you heard about this? There are two types of scanner. Flat pad scanner, which is like you have to open the box, put the document and put it back. Is it good or bad? Very bad. You know why? Because have you heard about in our costing in CA, we learned something called time and motion study? Oh, you all remember, right? So time and motion study, friends, if you have done it, you know this takes a lot of time. There are something which are called feeding. You just use, I'm telling you, all these small things goes a long way. Tell me one thing, how many of your people will be comfortable with opening, putting and all the things? But if you just put the feeding, is easier. I know it all sounds like very basic, but today's discussion is all going to basic. All the people who are also watching, please remember we are actually going back to fundamentals. We are not going high end today, okay? So this is another thing which I would highly recommend if you use it. DMS tagging is very important, and my favorite part of DMS is twofold. How many of you do something called as client onboarding and CSAT score? Anyone does that? Okay. I would suggest you, this is not mine, it's a friend of mine from Penia. I met him and he was doing it. So we should learn from each other. The idea is to learn from everyone's thing. And this onboarding, he does it. I was very impressed by that. And we used to do it in our previous organization. Client onboarding is, whenever they get a new client, they will actually capture all that important data. They had a list of some 20, 30 information they want to capture. Can be multiple. And they make a file. It is like permanent file. Heard about this term called permanent file in auditing and all things? So they make it up, and this is called the client onboarding. It's a very good thing. Second thing which I would ask is, start doing it. It's very interesting. You will actually find, this is my personal belief. Please start sending a nice form to every client after every audit or review. This is like CSAT, his satisfaction score. How did he like it? You can create the questions, and the best thing to do this is, how many of you use Google Form or Microsoft Forms? Both, yeah, you've used this, interesting, right? I actually love using forms. Like if I want any feedback from my clients, I just make one beautiful form, send a link to them, they will open, they have multiple things, and it is so easy that even a 10th pass out guy can do it. So we are chartered accountant, I think we are smarter than them, right? So it was easy. Please try doing it, Google Forms. We use it for CSAT score that it's always great to learn from our mistakes. And that's what it tries to give you. It gives you kind of a complete picture on this, and sending a CSAT scan will show that client you care about them. That's also one of the good things. So you can do it using Google Form. That is also part of DMS. DMS is huge. I don't want to go too deep into that. It can be used for I think I put it inside. So it can be used for multiple things, including, I would say, just put it inside there. It's for one answer. So it can be used for everything. DMS, I would suggest, even if it is expensive, invest into a good DMS initially. The amount of time you will actually save, you just can't imagine. Then comes apps for client. Can you tell me how much this mobile apps cost, roughly? Each of these mobile cost, what is the cost of a mobile app? Any idea? You would be very much surprised. You can get a mobile app developed for less than 20k. Yes, ma'am. 20k. That's all. Like all the mobile app which you use in your mobile, you can actually get it developed at less than 20k. And there are nowadays people putting coding that will do it for 10k or so like that. But quality thing is that. Instead of doing that, I would highly recommend you to try something called this. Again, I am telling a name here. The reason is I have used it and I like it. How many of you heard about something called Zoho Creator? ZOHO Creator. In fact, Zoho Creator is one site I have used to create one or two apps just for test purpose. And the cost was very less, very less. You can actually just say I want this. It can be like, for example, I'm not sure if you do some accounting services for your client. Are you doing some accounting services? You want the client that, okay, you take a picture and just send it to us and we'll tag it and we'll fill it and tally or anything else. You can give a service like that. See, you have to differentiate today. Today's world, we have to differentiate ourselves in terms of, all of you have come today on this Wednesday, braving the Bangalore traffic to this session. It shows that you really want to change something, right, in your organization. So don't you think you should actually take all the good things which are there? We learn from others' mistakes, like, one mistake everyone does. When you learn from others' mistakes, then it is what we call as interesting. So that's something which we should do. So that's one thing. Power Query. How many know about Power Query? Okay, how many know Excel? Why are you not using Power Query? I will not give more. Excel has some amazing tool. Power Query is one of the interesting tools. Go home and use it. Even Excel, if we can start using to the core, that would be amazing in terms of doing. I would suggest we should have a training of all our people internally, weekly, some new features we should do. Power Query is an amazing feature. I really like it. That's the kind of thing which you can use it. Or if you want to play something advanced, and if you have Office 365 subscription, anyone who have Office 365 subscription, great. You can try Power BI also. Power BI, it is from Microsoft. These are all visual things. You can, this is doing it better. Same thing, doing it better. So friends, this one slide took me a lot of time to make, and all of this, my suggestion to you would be, don't try to put one server or anything in your office. The reason is, you can't maintain it. You can't take backup of that. Do you take backup regularly? We are busy. Come on, let's understand that. We are busy people, okay? So move everything to the cloud. That is my last point on this page. These are something, whatever I am discussing here, friends, the budget allocation is 1.2 lakh rupees. Okay? If you want specific, I'll send you the mail. As I told you, I will not give the name of which tools or anything which I am using. But all these things are something which you can get it done in 1.2 lakhs per annum. I'm just talking per annum. I tell you, that's not a big deal, right? That's something which we can all spend upon, and this is something which will help us. The benefit which you are going to get is multifold. What is the benefit we get? Time. Save the time. Don't you think your hours are costly? Your 1 hour which you are spending on this, you can spend on something better. Second, ease of use, and third, it actually also helps client to appreciate us what we are doing, because you are showing some differentiating factors out there and taking it forward. Dear friends? Yeah. Sir?
Can I add a point?
Yeah, please.
Now, payroll management or leave management.
Yeah, that comes in HRMS, sir. Already it is there. Payroll and your leave management. So HRMS, it gives everyone a user ID. So let's say, for example, one person wants to give a leave, it will come there. Your payroll will come there. Again, I'll tell you. Your even, every year, do you do a 360-degree evaluation of your people? No. If you are doing it, you can actually feed that score there. You can also send that, like in our office, we have a kind of thing. Everyone should minimum attend in a year 10 days of training. It can be any training. So we feed up this training you have attended, this training you have attended. Because if you are not attending training, it means you have become stagnant. You are not learning it up. So that part comes here in HRM. HRMS, I would say, that's the reason if you see in the order, I started with customer, because customer comes, client comes first, okay? Second is our employee. That's the second thing which is there. And they have to be managed out there. Very, very good, sir. Okay? So this is all which I want to do it. Now, this is all good. So after listening to me, you will go back and you will just do Google and start doing it. But then you will, this is like what happens. We get excited knowing something new, and then we try to do that. Then there is a curve kind of thing. You're first very happy, oh, I did this. Then you reach a kind of a limit where you say, oh, it's not working, it's not working. Anand was just bluffing out there in the session. It's not working for me. And then it will go down. So I'll tell you the way this whole maturity matrix work. Stages of growth. So the way you should do it, I also learned also that we did a couple of mistakes. So it's always good. You guys are smart people, you learn from my mistakes. So that's why I'm sharing with you. First, do the initiation. Don't try to become like Bill Gates on day one, like everything is automated in my organization. No, it's not going to happen. You start with initiation. Initiation here means we first do the basic fundamentals. Get the subscription. I would suggest minimum 2 people in your organization in charge of drafting what we call the process. Someone has to set up the processes and other things. If you do that, that will help you in terms of doing it better. Second, expand upon that once you've built. So we will always recommend go in a step manner. First start with CRM, then go for HRM, then go for other things. So it should be a step-by approach, so expand on that. Once you expand, I'll tell you one of the biggest things which is going to happen. Do you think people in your organization will just adapt to what you're doing? No. People don't like this. People don't like change. Because now, every organization is working on something which I call, just correct me if I'm wrong, don't you think we have an ad hoc way of doing things? We just do it. Just like what just do it is like what Nike ad. Yeah. So we just do it, okay? We like think later and all thing. But think here, make a step, make a approach, make some policies that we'll have this way, this is our policy, this is our approach. We want to formalize it. This formalization will take a lot of time. First 2 things everyone says, like I'll give you one basic example. What I mean by formalization. How do we take tally backup here? We go to Control-C, folder, done, right? Is it the right way of doing tally backup? It should be going from gateway of tally, but this is the easiest way. Everyone will take the easy way. How do you formalize that? No, 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 this is not the right way. Either you have to use a carrot or stick technique. That was, this is the approach I want to follow. Because if you don't do it, you will not have data to basically do it. Let's say, for example, if a person, like I gave the example and we were both smiling, if 3 weeks I am not filling up my timesheet, my salary stopped, right? Salary doesn't come, it's a stick, right? Or you can give them some incentive that if everyone fills up everything into this properly, will give you some kind of maybe some what? Nowadays every companies are giving what?
Service.
No, this is the cheapest one. This is like this, that health tracker kind of thing. You can just give it something like that. I'll just give you an example here. So that's a point which is there. And the last one is maturity. Maturity will come, I'm talking in front of you after close to 9 months of experimental work. So we have already come to a phase where I was in a bad shape. I want to stop everything, whatever we're doing. We have spent so much money, nothing is working properly. Initial first 3 months, be ready for messy things. Please be ready for that. If you can't survive the 3 months, you can't survive it. It will be messy initially. It is not going to be like boom, everything is okay. It takes time. Stabilization will take time. That will become the majority. So this is all about the internal focus about that. Any question before we move to the second perspective, external focus and RPA? No? All clear? Great. So let's move to external automation, external perspective actually. RPA, robotic process automation. So let me show you a small video first and then we will discuss more on this. Here we go. Can you see it? This is a Rube Goldberg machine. I'll tell you what it is. Can't hear it? Sound? 1 minute. Let me see if it is. Okay. This is actually about Rube Goldberg machine. They will try to do a very complex machine to do a very simple task. Okay? So do you see this thing? Now, of late, businesses are working like that. So, is there a way of doing automation out there? Now, here, this concept of robotic process automation started. RPA, as the name suggests, it's actually to help, they say, human become more human at work. Because at last, what's happening is humans are becoming more mechanical in all their approaches. Okay? So, how do I make them more human? So if you see Wikipedia entries and all things, it always says that it's an emerging form of business process automation technology based on the notion of software robot or artificial intelligence worker. Now, I would actually give a very easy way. If I have to just think of this in a very simple way, how many of you use macro in Excel? Some of you? Yes, 1, 2. Macro in Excel does what? Any repetitive task which you are doing, it makes it happen at a click of a button. Imagine if this can happen with a lot of different processes by using softwares. Give you an example here. How many of you are on Airtel right now? Most of you, okay? How many of you use a tool called My Airtel? Now, My Airtel is a self-service tool, which means instead of going to the call center, you can get all your things done. Now, this is an example of an application. But imagine in organization, lot of things are done by human in some process or other. What are the processes? Let me give you an example. Accounts payable. Okay? Think of that. What is the process in accounts payable processing? I'm talking about AP processing. I'll get an invoice. All the invoices are going to be in different format. Yes or no? Yes. I need to key in all the data into my system. It will double check with all the processes and everything. And ultimately, what is going to happen? The payment has to be done. Now, think of a situation where instead of a human who is actually keying in this data, we can have a software which can capture all this data out of that thing. Now imagine not everyone's format is same, right? Everyone invoice format is different. How would you know there where is the account, where is the number labeled, which is the company's name? How do I match it up? Now that kind of intelligence has been built in something which I would say RPA. This will actually take care of all this information and do it for you, that entering this data into the system. Point number one. Point number two, think of, anyone has used here TDL, teledefinition language? Okay, one. Have you have some app in teledefinition language which can do your bank entries and other things which is easy? Imagine that as a huge scale, at a bigger scale. Imagine if I can use it something like in audit, where I can have all my requests, like for control self-assessment and everything, sent to them, data can be done, brought to me and managed. I'm just giving a big example of that because the use cases are hundreds of use cases which is there, and the technology which is making it possible was not there earlier, is some kind of intelligence in softwares. These are called bots, BOTS. That's why we use the term robotic process automation. Especially tasks which humans has to do. Like for example, tell me one thing, when you do consolidation of books of account, you pull up the same data from so many different sources and do the, the final version. What if it can be done by a machine? And whatever I'm telling you is not like far off or perceiving it, it's already happening. I'll discuss the use cases, you will understand what I'm trying to talk about. So it's a mix of something which we call as some level of machine learning, where the machine is taught to do stuff, and also what we call as your artificial intelligence. So these are the three steps which I told you. Robotic entities which mimic human actions. They are not humans, but they can mimic the same way as a human person would work. You won't believe it can even mimic mouse click. There are softwares, automation softwares are there. Like for example, mouse, take it here, click. It will just like you are recording a macro, it will record the screen. Then you go to this one, click, download, save it to a FTP file. Then you take it from there and take column number C, Control V to another one. That level of automation is what it can do. Second, processes, sequence of steps. That is what we are talking about, sequence of steps. Multiple sequence, you can think of whatever you can come to my mind, and it can do that for you. And automation is any process which can be done by the robots without human intervention. The main thing is that there is no one who is clicking start or end. The robots take care of everything. There are a lot of softwares in there. There's something called as, automation anywhere. There are Blue Ridge. There's something called as PyMonk. And what is the most interesting thing about them? Many of the training is free. You can actually just go online and just get the training done and learn it for yourself. And even a small bot, you can make it yourself. And then you can go to the client and say, hey, this is one of the problem of yours which I think I can solve it for you. I can make it more faster. Already they have been using extensively in one area right now which I see. Can anyone tell me where they use more and more of human doing repetitive tasks? Shared services. Shared services are already using a lot of robotic process automation to actually help them to overcome that. It is not about anything else. It is just about computer softwares which are enabling repetitive tasks, can be click, can be anything, and mimicking the same interaction as users. And where I'm doing it, automated data entry, multi-system integration, you can have hundreds of systems I can integrate together. I can do the repetitive task. I can do process reconciliation. This is one very interesting thing. Imagine doing process reconciliation, account reconciliation between two large entities. Is it an easy task or a tough task? Huge, right? And I am talking about the number of line items I am talking about here is minimum 2 to 3 million line items, which is around 30 lakhs to 20 lakh line items on both sides. I know one of my friends who's doing right now for one of the large FMCG company reconciliation where they have a kind of some 63 crore rupees of unreconciled balances. Can you imagine that? It's happening. So reconciliation part is another very thing. Data validation and data quality issue. Now what do I mean by data validation? I'll give you one simple example of this. Accounts payable, whenever the person's TIN number has come, now TIN number is no more there, so we have what? GST number. Can I figure it out whether this GST number actually belongs to him or not? It can be done. Because you can actually validate, go to the site, put that number. It is like a mimicking 1, 2, 3, 4 thing. Otherwise, a human would have done it. Now, it is done by what? Machine. That's something which we are talking about out here. And any kind of simple rule that, I'll give you one simple rule here. Have you heard of something called three-way matching? In SAP and Oracle, there is something called three-way matching. Three-way matching is nothing but when I'm actually trying to have some kind of payment release for accounts payable, I want to know what was my PO PO quantity and amount, what is my good receipt quantity, what is my invoice quantity and amount. All these basic rules, it can actually say that, oh, this is a mismatch. Then human can come and take over. Please understand that we are not going to go away. We are not going to be staying there. So much of automation. In fact, I will tell you, when you start reading about whatever I am discussing right now, they will say, oh, jobs of all humans will go away and all the thing. Don't you think when computers came first, they used to say the same thing? That humans will go away. Humans are not going to go away anywhere. We are like very dangerous people, okay? So, we are going to stay here all the time. But the thing is that many of the repetitive tasks, the low-level stuff, that is going to become redundant. No one is going to do that. So, maybe, I'm just thinking it loud, in payroll processing, you may have some process where attendant data is feeded, uploaded and all things. Imagine this happens automatically. You don't have to do that. So that 5-6 hours of uploading of data can actually cut down. That's the kind of thing we are talking about. Where should RPA be used? These are all the places where we are using it. I will not go into this much, but this number is actually shocking for me. When I was actually researching about this, they say that there is so much of inefficiency already there in the system that you can actually use RPA in 63% of the work. What it will lead to, the work will become faster, and also we will have more and more expertise on the high-end stuff, because that part cannot be put to machines. That has to be done by humans. So some examples which it will help us in terms of customer service, general accounting, forex payment kind of stuff, handling patient record. Okay, this fourth one I have just seen one of the implementation on a software called PyBomb. One of the clients which we are dealing with has just implemented that. This is amazing. I'll give you one example here. I'll not explain the name of the bank or the hospital, but there's one hospital which is actually using RPA. What for? Now what happens is, they have this is the beauty of RPA. You don't have to change any of their IT systems. All your legacy system will work whatever it is. You don't have to change anything. So they have a legacy system in which all the patient records are being maintained. Now what used to happen is, if you know they have to file with TPAs, the third party administrator, all the information about, okay, this patient, his insurance claim has to be submitted. What they used to do is, they used to have a team of people who will take a dump, kind of not print out, a file will be generated, but the TPA system was different. So this person will take all those things and again put it up. It was a human process, manual intervention, and the biggest challenge they had is, many times they used to have mistakes. This system is correct, this system when they are entering, there is a mistake, and because of which their claim is to be rejected. Now what they did is, they said, why should we only worry about humans? Humans, we have a problem, we get tired, right? You have fatigue, you see the same screen again and again. Like how many will be happy doing everyday morning, escape, enter on tally, escape, enter, just go, enter, escape. None of us, like after a point of time, you will actually go into a kind of a mode where you don't see that. So that fatigue doesn't come in RPA. It will basically just go, pick up from the legacy system all the key fields which is the data they want, then they will populate it up and then submit it for final review by the same doctors, and it just gets submitted. They have actually reduced their error to 0, first thing, and their claim submission and approval has increased by around 50%. That is the two things which is there. So there are kind of lot of places you can use it. Procurement side is another interesting area where we can do that. Let me show you a couple of this, areas where I thought it can be worked out. Repetitive tasks, periodic reporting areas where you have to do some kind of data analysis and all things. Another areas, I don't know it, I think CA office does not do it, but all this insurance and other things, they have to send this mails and other thing for every transactions. That can be done there. Okay, conversion of data in format and graphics. How would you be happy if someone can make a PPT for you? Seriously, don't you think so? There are tools right now which can actually make infographics and other thing. There are sites which you actually do is, you have to just put the data set and they do it for you. ERP transaction and process list and file storage. This file storage is one very area. I will tell you the use case which is there. Imagine you are using SAP or Oracle and you actually have to audit 30 plants, locations which are there in SAP. Imagine that you have to manually go and pick up all this data and regarding that before you start your audit, because knowledge of the business, that audit you have to do that. What if there is a kind of a bot which will do it for before every audit, pull up the relevant tables from SAP or whatever you can think of, ERP package, and just make it ready for you. You have a file about that entity before you go. You can study of that. You can actually focus on more analytical stuff than just getting your data ready. So I remember I attended one seminar sometime 1 year back in IIA in New York, Institute of Intermonitor, and there was a gentleman who was the chief intermonitor of AIG. If you know AIG, the insurance, and someone from audience asked him what is the biggest challenge which your audit team is facing now, and do you know what was the answer he gave? He said two things: getting data and getting quality data. Getting data itself is like big time. We know the data is there, but extracting it up, putting it up in the right format so the audit team can actually use it can become a big issue. So that is something which we are talking about here. Let me just show you this slide and then we jump to the use cases. This slide is actually saying that you can start on automation journey where you try, every one of us can actually start doing this. Why? Let me tell you one thing. You start with ad hoc. Right now every organization which is starting with is starting ad hoc. What is the cost of making a bot? Can anyone guess? Like if I have to make a bot today, how much will it cost? Like if I'm a company and you come to me and say, okay, I want to make a bot for you. How much? Huh? Any guess?
Similar to apps.
Similar to, not that less. But how much do you think? It's a repeated task. You do it. It's like you are hiring one person to do the same task again and again, multiple times. Can you guess? Just rough idea.
1 to 1.5 lakhs.
Yes, sir. That's the kind of thing which is 1.5 lakhs you can actually get a bot to work for you till it's like a bonded labor for you. Don't you think till you want him, he will keep on doing the same task again and again. And that's a very cheap thing to do because the repeated task it can handle is it can work 24/7. Can a human work 24/7? No, not at all. And it will just do it. So if you think of that, so you start with ad hoc, then you see some opportunity, you can actually use systematically what are the areas you can actually go for it, and then you can initialize this and move into that. There are right now hundreds of vendors who are doing it for you. Okay? You can actually, why it's important for us, Charlie comment. Anyone? Why we are discussing here is simple. This is a good opportunity for all of us. There is an opportunity that either you can be a part of the consulting team which works on this area by learning all the software, or you can actually think of it can be a kind of a business case. You can go to the board and say that these are the things you can automate because you understand the process better. These are repetitive tasks. These are the things which we need to automate. These are the things which we can actually make it better, faster, more efficient. It will not be a kind of a gap for anyone out there. Okay? So these are some of the benefits. I'll go quickly. They have been talking about that RPA has allowed people to do average handling time can be handled, reduced by 80%. We have reduction of any of this average, response time by 90. All these things are, I'm just trying to give an infographic here that not everywhere you can use RPA, that is for sure. But repetitive tasks, which is all human intensive, can help you a lot in terms of doing it. Let me go, these are some of the top vendors. Again, we are not promoting any of them, but they have all this tools which is not some rocket science. If we have learned Tally and we have used it, this actually is like drag and drop. You can just drag and drop and make the things. And I showed you for I think automation anywhere, there's a free training which is available online. You can actually just go and read the whole training and actually install it on your system also and play around with that. If you want some more information, I can share it with you. So these are all the top RPA vendors who are there as of now. Now let me go to the last part, use cases. Okay, where can we use it? This is going to be interesting, friends, and I want you to also add to this. Financials, services side. Credit underwriting. Don't you think credit underwriting, a lot of data has to be feed into the thing? Every person is different. That part, if it can be automatically feed, and the first credit score come, and then the human reviews the whole thing, don't you think it makes life easier for everyone? This is the first part I got. Retail credit assessment, giving the loan, like micro loans, which we are talking about, 5,000, 10,000 and all the that can all be automated. Risk and compliances and figuring it out whether data quality is okay or not. Now, when I mean by data quality, imagine I have taken data from 3 sources and all the 3 are telling the same thing. Then the data quality is good or bad? Good. But if all the 3 are saying different, then the data quality is bad. And I will not give a loan. So that kind of things you can do that. In retail, store planning, organizations are using this very well. Tell me one thing, where should I put my biscuits and chocolates in a store, in a retail store? Any idea of the placement?
Cash.
Near the cash counter, because that's a place. And also, where should I place my personal hygiene hygiene product along with atta and dal or somewhere else? Have you ever thought of that? This was easy, but that one is tough. How does a person's mind? So now organizations are actually doing this test. They are actually seeing robots, seeing what are the things getting picked up. All this data they are feeding into the system, and the system says this is the ideal layout of your store. Order processing, another thing we all know. Let me go quickly. Healthcare, I have already discussed about this. Yes, the last one, I think I have talked about everything except for spend analytics. This is a new interesting area which can only be done if you have some kind of robotic process automation. What is spend analytics, friends? Anyone?
What is the nature of spending on each sector?
Each sector or what?
Type of expenses, how much is towards fuel, how much is towards food?
That is the budgeting part. Spend analytics is actually one step layer. Let me ask you one thing. Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has around 100 offices all around the country. Let's say we have our own office as well as we have our what you can think of, rented office. Huh? Yeah, and if, as of now, I know for sure, all of you know, we are a decentralized organization, but if we become centralized and at head office they really want to know what's happening, why is, let's say, Bangalore paying 6,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees for a webinar or webcast like that, whereas Noida is getting it done for 3,000 rupees. Can you think of that kind of analysis? Can we give it to a central vendor? Why the prices are different? What is the per square feet, rates are coming up there? This is like a kind of a big time analysis you can do. In fact, retail organizations are doing it all across their country. How our retail stores are working and taking it forward. So these are the sample use cases which I talked about. Banking, these are some of the another use cases which can use it. Banks are going to become interesting. Why do you think so? Any idea? Mergers, one is Malya and one is banks are getting a lot of competition from fintech companies. Don't you think so? Like how many of you are using Google Pay or Tej or Paytm? Now every time you do a transfer using any of these services, don't you think our traditional banks are losing money because you are not paying them any kind of transfer charges which you used to pay earlier for NEFT and IMPS and other thing, 10 rupees for an IMPS. That's the kind of thing which is happening. Their whole models are going to change. And I think government is doing a good decision by merging them up because anyway they are like doing nothing. so basically more and more you will see in banks also, starting with compliances, fixed asset accounting. That's interesting, right? Imagine so many parts. The most interesting thing which I came to know is imagine making a large plane. It will have like so many different parts, so many different things which are going together. All this humanly getting a track of that and building up that asset can be very tough. AR, record to report, all these places we can use a lot of RPA out here. Then insurance, I would say one of the area which is going to be most importantly changed in insurance, friends, is insurance claim processing. Claim processing is one area which is actually right now very, very manual intensive. And the time taken can cut down. They can cut down on the people who are involved with that and make more analytical analysis before they can do it. Imagine a situation, when I say analytical analysis, can I do a situation like, before I process this claim, last 50 claims which has come from the same hospital, we had an error rate of this much. So the chances this also had an error rate. Can we actually do analysis like that, statistical analysis? That would actually add a lot of points out here. Manufacturing. Okay, manufacturing, I'm not going to do too much of thing, but one area which is actually RPA can be used a lot is, how many of you heard about this term called IoT? Internet of Things, friends. Okay, so nowadays all this manufacturing are using sensors. So there are sensors are collecting a lot of data. But now, as humans, we don't have time to go and check up all this data. So the robotic process automation part can actually collect all this data and give you a kind of a 360 view what's actually happening out of it. That makes life much easier, and all this data can be uploaded in an FTP or a SharePoint, just like I say. for an easy decision making for you. That at least I don't have to go to each of the system interface and pull up the data and load it up here. So manufacturing also, we have a lot of these use cases which are there. The last part, impact on accounting and auditing and assurance. So what is the impact which it is going to have on us? Now this is, you can always see it. These are some old news I've run. They are not latest. They are already impacting us right now. Everywhere we see robotic softwares are taking over. If you get a chance sometime, I would highly recommend you to go to one site called telegraph.co.uk. Okay? And if you really want to know what is the impact on accounting and finance, because there are like a very nice series of cartoons on that. I couldn't come and brought it here, but if you see the series, it's actually a series called Alex, A-L-E-X, on telegraph.co.uk. Don't go to telegraph.co.com because that's an Indian site. I'm talking about telegraph.co.uk. Go to finance, and there will be a cartoon series called there, and they will show you how robots are actually coming and taking over the banking jobs out there in UK and other part of things. That's actually happening. So the use cases are so much that it can have an impact on that. Coming from a perspective of a continuous accounting model, this slide took me some time to prepare, but it's actually, RPA can be used in so many parts. It can be like a very well-oiled machinery where we have different parts from, like for example, imagine reconciliation with banks, BRS kind of thing. Can we automate that? Think of something like reconciliation with my third party. It can be automated. All these things can actually make life much easier in all terms. And here, what it happens is, this is like the best case scenario I'm discussing with friends. It will take some time. Did you see the maturity part we were discussing it? This will take a lot more time to come, but this is like the best stage where most of the things which is there happens through the systems, and you as chartered accountant add value in terms of our analytical skills. Rest of the thing, the regular stuff, is all handled by the machines and taken care of that. So this part is what I was talking about. And okay, this is the okay, let me skip this. This is the slide which I was telling you. The 3-step approach to RPA-based audit. This is actually an important slide, friends, for all of us, because right now I am seeing one more thing. What is that? Do we trust machines so easily? No. Even when ERPs were put, do you know we used to have the ERP audit? So the next big, I would say, big opportunity which is coming, apart from implementing RPA, is auditing RPA. And auditing RPA, in fact, there are books written on that right now, but I just try to make it very simple for you in a 3-step approach where auditing RPA can be done. First is process understanding. You need to understand the process on why which we are doing it, what are the key things which has to be done, and ensuring it up that you are taking care of that. Second, we do a standardization of all the audit data. So there is a consistency. I told you, if I have a data quality of 3 sources and they are not matching up, then it means something is fishy. So I will actually try to see the quality of the data source, see how it has been managed, what are the key things which I need to work upon. I have to go deep dive into that. And the final step is, the system will do the audit part for itself. You don't have to do it. Again, if, for us also, I am telling you, I would love to, we are already using 2 bots for some of our auditing purpose, and we are going to increase this number of bots which are there. Because time has come. Our bots we are using is only for extraction purpose. When I say extraction purpose, what we do is, whatever information we require, once we understand the environment of that, we just put the bots and it will do all the extraction of data. Right now we have not done the other 2 parts, which are that taking the data together and then analyzing it. But future that can be also be done with that. So it will be interesting to see, and we have to see how we can talk more about that. Okay? This is more of my final slide, friends, which I thought about I will share with all of you. Now here it is actually, right now we are seeing something called as simple RPA. A simple RPA is like nothing but simple screen recording. You know, just a macro, recording macro. When you record the macro, step 1, step 2, step 3, on the back end what it does is, it will create a program in Visual Basic. That's how it basically done. It's a simple thing. And I'm telling you all the tools I told you, you have to just spend 5-6 hours, you would be able to do that. It's like not a big, stuff out there, nothing to do that. But what it is moving to, enterprise RPA. So far RPA was used ad hoc manner. Wherever I have seen so far, maybe my understanding will be based on my 1 or 2 years experience, but so far we have always seen that the use case of RPA is very, very ad hoc. Some places they are using it, some places they are not using it, they are still thinking how to use it, take that forward. All these things are being done. But in future, we would have a lot of API based automation. What do you mean by API? It is like plug and play. Okay? Application, it's a basically interface, an application interface you can think of. In future, friends, we would have is something like, oh, you are a healthcare provider. Here is a set of 15, robotic bots which are there. We can use it. You are something in banking. You can use this. It will be more based on what we call as your fundamental interfaces to be built. And here I am using this two terms, cognitive and AI. What do you mean by this term cognitive? Basically, the term cognitive and AI are used interchangeably, but I will bring it to something called as machine learning. I always give this example. This is my favorite example. How many of you heard about this game called Go? It's a Korean game or Chinese game for strategy. Or have you heard about something called AlphaGo? No? Okay. So if you get time today back home, go to a site called Alpha, like just search on Google, AlphaGo. ALPHA Go. Now AlphaGo, why I just thought I'll share this example in RPA, it's a very interesting example of some kind of cognitive science and machine learning. So let me tell you what happens in machine learning. I always talk about that, so I'll just share with you. Imagine I don't know chess. Okay? If I have to learn chess, do you think I have to play against someone who knows chess and start with first, can I go directly to the expert level or should I start with the kids in my society? Kids in my society, right? That's the way. And then when I actually become a little better, then I go to the local champions and then if I get better, thing. How much time do you think it will take me to become an expert in that area? Any idea? 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 100 years, or until I die? Huh?
Time you spend.
Minimum, you can say 5 to 10 years it will take me to come if I am starting from scratch. Like if I am good at brain, like I should have that brain for chess also. I'm just giving an example. In AlphaGo, what happened is, what the computer scientists did, they said, we'll make 2 versions of a program and we'll not teach them how to play the game. We'll only teach them what is the rules of the game. I hope you agree. So, rules of the game. Do you know all the rules of the game of Ludo? Yes? Yes or no? Or are you still confused? Come on. Ludo is like simple game, right? So, does any of this, 6, when it does come out, that, that small 6 or 1? So there are multiple versions, right? Some people say it will come only on 6, some people say everyone wanted to come and all, depending on whatever the level of things are. So they said, we are not going to do it, we'll fix up the basic rules. This is the rules everyone has to follow. Then, what this AlphaGo team did, which is actually from Google, this team made the game play minimum 30,000 times against each other. No humans. The game was playing against each other. Now, when the game played so much, it has now knowledge of how many games? Not 30,000, 60,000. Don't you think both sides they are there playing? And it built up the brain or cognitive memory or what we call machine learning of that. After the 60,000 match, these people got the world champion, human world champion on AlphaGo come and play against AlphaGo. What do you think would have happened? Who would have won? Humans or machines? Humans, right? Because they have self-learned. They are like Eklavya, not Eklavya, right? Self-learned, and this guy has played against so many different people. So humans should have won, but the human champion lost 8. You will be shocked. First game, he lost it in 3 minutes. Now, what would have happened to you if you lost your world champion and you lost that game in 3 minutes? Have you seen that in cricket match when you get out on the first ball? What do you say? I was not ready. Yeah, that's a human behavior. I was not ready. Let's leave there. So same thing. This guy said, "Oh, I was not ready." So they said, "Okay, next game." Yes, there were 3 games played again. 2 games was won by AlphaGo. 1 game was won by the human champion. And this time it went well because human champion now understood he's not like playing against some bacha, like someone expert. But what is the learning from this is that program did a self-learning by playing 60,000 games. Humans, if you think we have to play 60,000 games, would you not take a tea break and coffee break and everything? We can't do it at that level. Our brains are amazingly great, but we can't do repeated tasks so much of time. That something is that I'm talking about. When enterprise RPA go to that level, they are already starting. More and more data you give it to them, better they become. More data you give it to them, better they become. This is like the fundamental. See, you have to understand all this part I'm talking about. More data for the machines, better it is always for them. That's how we should be doing. And this is what we call as the future of RPA. So with that, we come to an end to our talks. Thank you for your patience hearing on a Wednesday evening. And just to do a recap what we discussed today, we discussed in 2 parts. The first part was internal automation, what happens in an organization, especially in a chartered accountant organization. And second part was basically, you can think of it as 2 things. A kind of automation area, robotic process automation, which is helping all of us in terms of making the things better. Also, ensuring that this is an area which will be coming out for 2 opportunities for all of us. The first one being consultant in this area, and as I told you, you can use any of these tools which I mentioned it up and start playing with that. If you want more information, I can more than happy drop you a mail answers to it. And second thing, friends, which is very important, is we can actually be auditing the robots. The bots which are there, you can audit. It will be like an IS audit kind of engagement, and that will be interesting to work around with that. Okay? So thank you very much.